Hello and thank you for joining us for this week's challenge. I'm Amy from Natural Balance Therapy, and each week I'm going to be bringing you new challenges that are going to help you dive deeper into your own healing through awareness techniques as well as myofascial self-care concepts. So let's get started. Last week we focused on bringing our awareness into our areas of discomfort by utilizing our breath. How did you do with this? What changes did you notice? I would love to hear any struggles or challenges you had, but I also want to share those accomplishments that you had and those successes. So take a moment to comment below, and I would love to hear how you did. Now, are you ready to reclaim your life, take charge, and find freedom in your body? If so, let's get started on this week's challenge. How many of you use self-care tools? Whether it be a foam roller, whether it be a 4-inch ball, any type of tool to try to eliminate your pain. When we utilize myofascial self-care principles, our first step that we teach our clients is softening onto those tools. But for some reason, so many of our clients skip this step or they forget it. I don't know, they just want to move on. They just want to rush through the technique. And I think a lot of that is we are in a rush society and we don't take the time to really just focus on us. This technique does take mindfulness. It takes practice, and it requires us to slow down. But I can tell you that when you really allow yourself to start to soften onto the tools, this is the most important step. It is the step where you will start to really see amazing and positive change in your pain. Now, why do we do it? When we start to sink onto the tool, we're sinking through many layers of fascial tissue. And as we sink through that, we're starting to get into an aspect of the tissue that responds to more of a low load over a longer duration. That's why we also encourage you to do the technique for a length of time of 3-5 minutes. So as we start to get to that tissue, that is where we start to get long-term change. Now, a lot of times when people have used balls in the past, they just roll on it and just keep moving. What this does is you're just moving on the surface. You're never going to get to that aspect of the tissue that gives you long-term change. So you're going to yield temporary results. So this week, our challenge is to take extra time to not skip this critical step of softening. So we're going to take extra time to really practice softening onto our tools. And I'm going to encourage that as you're softening onto the tool, you are softening for a minimum of 2 minutes and doing it daily. And give yourself the time to go into a quiet space so you can very much be very mindful and aware of anything that you're feeling in the body. Now, I know some of you are telling me, but Amy, that's a really long time. I can guarantee you that if you do it and you practice and you become very good at softening, the changes will be worth the time and you will cherish them. Now, to do this technique, you don't need a tool. So this is something that you can do also just laying on your bed or sitting in a chair or even standing. You can work on softening. So let's take a moment to learn how to do our softening. I want you to find a comfortable position. If you want to use a tool, you can. Maybe if you put it at your sacrum or just anywhere that feels right for you and your body, or you can do this without a tool. So find that comfortable position, and I'm going to encourage you to start out by just taking a couple of breaths, letting that mind quiet. So many of us have so many thoughts going on in our head that we really have to quiet our mind to get to a space of kind of just mindfulness with this. And then what I'm going to encourage you to do is we're going to start to bring our awareness to the feet. And why we do this is any time that we get on a tool, we tend to brace our legs. And so what we're going to do is start at the feet and work our way softening through the legs first which will let you start to soften onto that tool or soften onto the bed. So bring your awareness to the tops of the feet. And all I want you to imagine is the tops of the feet starting to sink and melt towards the floor or the bed that you're on. And then bringing your awareness to your legs and imagining the knees, thighs starting to sink and melt towards the back of the legs. Now, if that visual is difficult for you of imagining what's on top sinking down, just feel the contact that you have on that bed or floor, and just imagine the part that's in contact just sinking more heavily into the surface. And just imagine, how heavy can my body get? And then you're working your way up, bringing the awareness into the lower abdomen, belly, imagining that sink and melt towards the spine. Giving yourself permission to just surrender. And then up to the front of the rib cage, the chest and throat, imagining that sinking and melting towards the back of the spine. At this point, you should be feeling yourself start to sink into that surface even more, or sink into the tool. That's how you know you're in the right spot. You're doing great. Now at this point, if you aren't really feeling much of change, might not be the right thing to do today. So listen and honor and try it a different day. But in one of our Transformational Thursdays, we went through bringing our awareness into an area via our breath. So as you're sinking onto that, maybe that tool or into the bed, what you may start to feel is areas that spike in a little bit of intensity. Maybe your pain increases, or maybe the discomfort increases. What this means is we've hit a restriction. It's exactly where we want to be. And so what we do now is we bring our breath and awareness into that area, and majority of it within a short amount of time, 20 to 30 seconds usually, you'll start to feel it subside a bit. You'll start to feel yourself starting to surrender and melt onto it. It's perfect. It's exactly what we want to do. So what I'm encouraging this week is just focus and practice on your softening. And I want you to allow yourself to be very mindful as you're doing it. Bring your breath, bring your awareness into these areas that feel like they're holding, they're bracing, they're stuck, they just aren't letting go. And see if you can even ask yourself, can I allow it to be a little bit softer? And see what you feel. See if you feel that give. Now I know you guys got this. This is the most important step in starting to learn our myofascial self-care. So I want you to practice this week, and I'll be checking in midweek, and I want you to share with me your struggles, challenges. I also want to hear all about your accomplishments. Now I can't wait to notice the changes that you feel with this. But make sure you're checking back next Sunday for our next week's challenge. But for now, just soften, soften, and soften. Thank you for following along and diving into each of our weekly challenges. If you're interested in more of our challenges, subscribe below and keep following along.